This week on the Prereal Podcast, we're joined by Mike, the CEO and founder of Growth Capital Group. So Mike has been an intermittent investor in real estate for most of his life. One family, two family, a deal here, a deal there. Over the last 3 years, they have stacked 1,100 units in the multifamily space. And they did it the right way. They kept their eye on inflation, rates, and what was going to happen when these bridge loans came due. They were very selective in their loan product. They were very smart with rate caps. They really paid attention to the deals. If you're interested in listening to a pro and how they built at unbelievable scale, give the show a listen this week. Really a tremendous amount of value. We get in the weeds quite a bit. It's a good one. You don't want to miss it, folks.
Are you ready to bring your real estate game to the next level? My name is James Prendamano. I'm the CEO and founder of Prereal. And over the past 25 years, I've closed over $1 billion in transactional real estate. Each week, I'm meeting with outstanding investors, high-performing individuals, and visionaries operating in the real estate space. These are the people that are actually out there in the real estate game right now getting it done. This podcast aims at bringing anyone's game to the next level. This is the Prereal Podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to the Prereal Podcast. We're joined today by Mike Desrosiers. He is the CEO and founder of Growth Capital Group. So Mike is a multifamily syndicator, focuses on what I call elbow grease properties, value-add propositions, extensive background in education and asset management, acquisitions, investor relations. He's a GP in, at last count, at least Mike, according to our research, was 13 multifamily projects through 10 syndications, 1,100 units, and $100 million in assets under management. Did I get it close?
Very close. Yep.
Well, congrats, first of all, on we were talking offline on the fairly new addition to the family. God bless.
Thank you.
And man, that's a heck of a portfolio that you've put together. And you know, the listeners in the audience, it's a pretty wide audience. We have some really seasoned investors, a lot of mindset folks, but we also have people that are looking to make the transition, folks that are looking to step out of their current path, if you will, and pursue this life of, as the TikTok investors say, this life of freedom. I'm still looking for that part, but looking to get into the game. So I think it's interesting if we can kind of always go back a little bit with the guests and talk a little about your background and how you ended up in the real estate game, if you will.
Sure. Yeah, you bet. Yeah. So, I've been around a long time, and I've been an entrepreneur for quite a long time. I've been in multiple businesses, mostly in the marketing, sales kind of type of businesses. But it's including the food industry, the satellite industry, the limousine business, car business. I've been in all kinds of businesses, but all along, it's the real estate that I purchased on the way. And it's interesting because I remember I was probably 19 years old, and rented my first office for my business. I was in the meat business, food business. And the landlord that I was renting it to, he told me he was an older guy, probably, 60s, 70s at the time, and owned this whole building that I was where I was renting. And he just wanted to give me that little, advice. And he said, I was an electrician for 40 years. And at the end of the day, I just closed my doors of my business. But the real estate that I bought in those 40 years made me wealthy beyond belief. And I always remembered that. And you know what? It's been so true for me. So to answer your question, it's really been that path. And I've been involved in these different businesses. They've all given me kind of good lifestyle and, vacations and homes and, and things. But the real estate investments that I purchased along the way with the money from that is, at the end of the day, was really what created the major wealth for me. And so I've always had rentals of one type or another, mostly all single family. I only got into the multifamily space just a few years ago, and got lured in through some of these education systems, as many do. But for me, it turned the light on super fast because I'd already been involved in real estate. I knew the potential. I have other friends that are involved in multifamily, but you know, you look at these large buildings of, 100 units or 200 unit complex, it might be 10 or 20 million dollars. And, initially you just don't think that's something you could be part of, right? It's just too much money, right? It's just too much money. But after kind of learning the syndication process and, bringing in, the ability to raise capital, bring in investors to help with that, and how that's all positioned, where you're not going out and asking for money, you're not asking to borrow money or anybody to, just to give you money. You're basically giving an opportunity for them to come in and ride the ride with you. And positioning it that way makes it a whole different, just a game changer. So anyway, following that path, learning, through the education of the process and, accurate underwriting and how to raise capital and how to position yourself and, legally raise capital, as in a syndication, all started coming together, and I was able to do that. And so I got into kind of my first property I actually bought on my own in Las Vegas. I live in California, and that was another kind of aha moment in this education, is like, how do you buy out of state? How do you really buy something that can't run to in an hour, And so I bought in Las Vegas, kind of testing those waters out, realized that was not very hard at all. Got invited to participate in somebody else's syndication as a capital raiser to come in on the GP side, and was able to do that, threw a little of my own money in, as well as raising some capital, not a whole lot, but it kind of got that ball rolling. And also with my business experience, I was able to help that syndication team, that operators, in other ways, just as far as systems and processes and how things were, going, because they were growing very fast. So they really liked that. And then they just kind of kept inviting me into more and more deals. And I started bringing more and more to the table as a partner. And then I got invited, met some other operators. I came into a 426 unit property in Kansas City and, raised a little over $1 million for that property. And so it just kind of grew and grew. And I enjoy it.
Could you give us a little bit of detail on a few pointers for those that are out there looking to take this step up in class? Try and give me some specifics, like what are things folks should be doing now if they want to try and make that step?
Yeah, absolutely. Education is really the key here, because this is a business that you really can't fake it until you make it. I mean, you can if you're buying your own property, single family, and maybe even doing it with, your mom and dad's money or something. But if you're really raising capital from investors and bringing, money in, especially in these large properties, you got to know what you're doing, or you have to have a team that knows what they're doing. So if you're not, the smartest thing to do is to partner up with somebody who is, and then you are, it's like I tell, I bring in partners all the time. I partner pretty much on all of my properties, right, one way or another. And this is a team sport, nobody takes these large properties down by themselves. They can't. And if you did, they could, but if you took even a 20 unit or 50 unit, it's going to consume your life, right, for forever, right, five years or however long you're running this. But when you have a good team around you and some partners that are educated in these, a great underwriter and a great, person to handle financing and, to handle the operations and the asset management, it happens much easier, much quicker, and you're able to excel much faster, because you can quickly get into additional properties and keep building your portfolio, because it's really easy for these people to do these jobs, right? And that makes it really does make it a lot more fun. It really does. And you as an individual, no matter how much education you have in this space, by surrounding yourself around these people, every day, and all, on all these, hundreds or thousands of Zoom calls, whatever, but you're learning every single time. So it's a very quick learning curve. And as you said, it's in this business, it is about who you know, and it's about being in the right place at the right time, which is meaning like being around the right people that come up with these opportunities, because you're working with some individuals that are in the fast lane. They're doing this business. They come up with deals all the time, and they're constantly putting deals together. And so they initially are going to reel in people that are kind of close in their inner circle.
You talked about education twice. What are some specific resources? Is it podcasts, books? Is it paid courses? What have you found to be the most valuable resources for folks? Where can we point them to start?
Absolutely. Well, all of the above. I mean, obviously the podcast, there's a lot of free education out there for sure, and that's a great place to start. There's some paid education, and that's a fast lane way to start. I did do that. I'm not an easy sell, believe me. When I'm the guy in the timeshare presentation that's got his arm closed and going, "You're not selling me. There's no way," right? That's not going to happen. And I was very leery going into that, because they're selling the sky and the moon and in a dream. But it started to just make more and more sense, and I kept getting drawn into more and more and more, and I was following kind of the least expensive path going forward, but eventually just bought in and got into the full education and coaching and process. I came through RE Mentor, which is David Lindahl. He's wrote several books on the industry, been around for quite a long time. And they're based at the East Coast, but they're all over. And I came through their system. But there's many out there that are just terrific. They all kind of teach the same thing. Honestly, this is the multifamily space, and syndication is not anything that's different. But maybe they teach it different ways or have different processes through it. But one thing I like about RE Mentors is their support system. They have a terrific networking group. Because they've been around so long, so they put on many events and gives you great opportunities to meet others in the space. But again, no matter how much education you have and where you are in the space, it's really about you applying yourself, determining what you're good at, coming up with your superpower, as they say, or where you feel you can really stand out. You don't have to do it all. You don't have to be an excellent everything. You just got to be really good at something and get even better at that, and then you become valuable. And these others that aren't so good, underwriting is an example, right? Because I use that all the time. I can underwrite, I can read the spreadsheets, I do Excel all the time. I understand them, but I'm not the guru on Excel. I'm not the guy who wants to be up at 2 o'clock in the morning in front of a spreadsheet, calculating. But I have partners that are, right? I have partners that email me at 2 o'clock in the morning with, hey, I got, I have this, and look at this. And, well, I'm asleep, but, I see when the email came in, and they're the type that stay up in the front of those Excel spreadsheets all night. And that's the perfect partner you want when you're not that, right? So in the other token, like, they hate going to maybe networking events or, socializing in, maybe these events or something, right? And so I really love doing that. And so together we're able to get the deal flow going, right? And actually be able to do something with it. I have another partner who's, was a contractor for many years, and he does a lot of the asset management for us. And so he just, he can look at these quotes, he can size up a property, he can walk to a property and pretty much tell what's going to be needed for the CapEx on that property, all in about 20 minutes. And that's a really big help for our team as well too, right? So it's just those kind of people or partners that work together as one. It's pretty awesome.
It's about finding your superpower, your gift. What are you absolutely best at? What is it that you're willing to take that responsibility for your team, that you are the point person on that specific discipline, and you don't have to worry about those other areas because you have counterparts and you have other people in your syndication that are absolutely experts in those areas. So for me, that was particularly difficult of a mindset to break. What is your superpower? What is your gift in these deals?
Yeah, James. Well, I come out of the same mold, obviously, as you do. So I was the same, being an entrepreneur all of my life in these different businesses. I was really a jack of all trades, but a master of none, right? So I had the ability to put things together. I had the ability to keep a business going and cut corners where needed, cut expenses and so forth. But yeah, never really kind of had a big master of anything. And when I got into this at first, the thing that I thought I was going to be the strength at is acquisitions and being able to do broker relationships and be able to get the properties under contract. I really thought that was going to be my strength, right? Because I feel confident in that level, and I still do. But I realized quickly that takes a lot more time than I expected, right? Just the broker relationships, the phone calls, and the multiple calls, and then they're firing all these deals at you, and you got to review them and get back. And then I kind of got on. I also felt strong in the capital raising side, and so when I was able to get involved in my first deal, that obviously had to turn that pipeline on, and got into that side. I really realized I really like that a lot better. I love dealing with the investors themselves, because I feel like it's more of a one-on-one conversation. And I being an investor and being an entrepreneur and being in that position for many years of some businesses sometimes did really well, and I had money, but not necessarily knowing what to do with that money and how to make money on that money, right? I did put it into real estate, but it was into into the single family. So anyway, the conversation flows for me much easier, and I really enjoy that. So I kind of came in more on the capital raising side, which obviously, when you start raising capital, especially in larger amounts, I've raised upwards of about 20 million at this point. And, you do become the belle of the ball, right? Everybody wants, you all of a sudden get Christmas, cards from everybody, right? Because everybody needs the money. But and I don't take that lightly, for sure, right? I mean, I truly value my relationships in the industry for other operators and so forth, certainly my partners. But I really like being able to deal with the investors direct one-on-one. I enjoy those conversations. I enjoy meeting them. It's not a one-off call or conversation. It's a lifetime relationship that you're building with these people, and taking the responsibility of their money, which is extremely important, right? But with my jack of all trades background, it does give me the ability to vet other operators and vet deals, pretty quickly, and get a really good sense of who are good operators and who aren't, and that kind of thing in the business, which is important as a capital raiser, right? Because you can't raise capital for everybody. You're just going to do it for, you're going to come into deals and teams and partners. And I have maybe 3 or 4 partner teams that I work with that I really, trust and like and do most of my business with.
Folks are opting for quieter, safer, cleaner, less expensive places to call home. And I believe that that is going to have a continued impact, at least for the rest of my professional investing career. And we're betting heavily on emerging markets. What are your thoughts on that statement and beyond, of course? What are your insights on these emerging markets?
Yeah, I mean, I think I feel the same. I think that the, kind of whole work from home thing, it's gonna, there'll be a lot to go back for sure. And some, are already kind of proving that. Of course, there's a lot of kickback and, and fight from the employee status, but there's certain businesses that certainly can and don't, they've learned now that they can efficiently have people working from home. And, that's, the water cooler talk that goes on in the offices ends up being just really a lot of wasted time, and certainly the commuting time to and from, so on. So I think you can have much happier employees and really be way more efficient with your time if you're working from home. if you have that mindset for sure. So I do see that. The emerging markets are something I always keep the pulse on and looking for where that growth is happening, because that's where we like to invest. It doesn't guarantee success, but it certainly puts a feather in your cap, and it makes it a better likelihood of success in that market. Yeah, so we're it's the jobs, it's the the job growth also we do follow, because when companies move into markets, they always bring jobs following with that, and they're usually higher paid jobs. So we keep an eye on that kind of population growth. Some of the markets that maybe have overinflated from COVID and from the work at home, I stay a little leery about it, to be honest with you. I mean, I think some of that can soften, and they've blown up pretty quickly in this recent couple of years to 3 years here. So can it maintain that without the actual jobs being there? I don't know. I'm kind of a little skeptical of it myself.
What are the opportunities? How do you get those either off market or upside deals? Because they become more and more challenging to get your hands on as more and more investors enter the market. What does that process look like? How are you penetrating these new markets?
Yes, I mean, you have to immerse yourself into the markets. It can start with a lot of free data that is online. Citydata.com or city-data.com is a terrific website for anybody who hasn't seen that. That pulls up pretty much every metro in the country, and you can type in small and large and smaller cities. It brings pages, 20, 30, 40 pages of information on that city, everything from crime rate to population growth to job growth to demographics of the city and income, and so forth. So there's a lot of information, but with that said, it's also a little older information. It's not current to this year. It's usually only current to maybe a year or two ago, but it gives you a good guide. And then when you're going to those markets, you have to spend some time there. You do need to travel. Getting to know the brokers is really key, and anybody that's in the business on boots on the ground there. I mean, the brokers are a tremendous amount of information, right? No matter where you are, if you're looking at Oklahoma or Tulsa or something. I mean, if you get in a conversation with an experienced broker in that market, they really can tell you almost everything. They know it down to the, like what happened last week, right, in the market. They have their feelers completely on the market there, and they can tell you cap rates. They can tell you what areas of town are growing, what areas aren't, new companies that are moving in, where the path of progress is, where they're building the new downtown, or the economic development department is doing this or doing that, or and so they can fill you in. They can be a big resource. So can title companies. So can escrow, any escrow people, the title reps. If you can get connection with a title rep at a title company, the title reps are, I learned that quite a long time ago. That, these title reps, their job, they're kind of like the cheerleaders for the title company, right? But they run around all day, every day, servicing the realtors, and they're trying to get, brokers to do business with them, right? But they know exactly what's going on, because they actually, a lot of times they'll actually even, with transactions, they'll bring, the information or pick up stuff and deliver it for them. I mean, they do all kinds of things. So they really do have a kind of a good contact. They can also provide lists, by the way, if anybody looking for a particular market, if you find a market, I mean, the direct mail is something that's effective in this kind of economy. When we start to see this type of shift happening, it can be very effective. Title reps can pull lists for you of all the, multifamily business owners in a particular market, and they can dial it down to even like, big thing going on now, right, is these bridge loans. A lot of owners that got into these bridge loans and the rates are going up, right, and they only have a certain amount of time where they got to refi, which could be coming up, this year, next year, not this year, next year, but and they can pull a list of all the owners in a certain size or in a certain area that have bridge loans and have bridge loans coming due. They have that kind of information.
So guys, that's gold. What Mike is
Right.
telling you right now is utter and absolute gold.
Yeah.
So you've stacked a lot of assets over the last 3 years, a lot of assets. What has your philosophy been in acquiring those assets? Were you going longer with your debt?
Yes. I mean, obviously the bridge loans are not making any sense anymore, and the rates are just incredibly high. And fortunately, on our properties, we did get some bridge loans, but we were always pretty proactive on purchasing the rate caps, which has turned to be an amazing blessing. I mean, we have properties that had a $10,000 a month interest only payment that are now approaching $30,000 a month interest only, right? But we have these rate caps that are paying us back, $15,000 of that, and will continue to do so. So that puts us in a, it's still increasing our costs with that, but it ensures our, that it can't go up any further. But the long-term debt is, I see interest rates continuing to climb. I think it'll slow down. It'll be smaller increases next year, and then hopefully we're thinking the outlook is maybe 2024 where we'll start to see some decline. So long-term debt with the ability to be able to get out of that debt in at least like a 3-year time frame, right? Because that's the downside, is if you lock in a long-term debt at a high interest rate, and then to try to get out of that loan, and you have these step downs or prepayment penalties, then they can be harsh. It can be $1 million prepayment penalty to get out of a loan too early, right? So you're either stuck paying this higher interest rate, or you have to pay that prepayment penalty.
Do you think that the next 12 to 24 months are great times to buy, great times to sell? What are the magic ball? What's it telling you?
Yeah, I mean, it's both, depending on, again, the kind of loan. If you're into a high interest loan, it's a great time to sell for sure. I do think that it's a great time to buy, no question about that. I don't know that we've hit bottom here on what we're doing. I agree with you where I don't see a major crash here, but we are going to see some softening and raising of cap rates and some lowering. So there's a lot of sellers out there, but they haven't quite come to grasp with lowering their prices. I think as we go into next year, we may see that, and there'll be some terrific buying opportunities. The key is keep your pencil sharp and keep your education sharp, and make sure you keep your relationships sharp, because when it does happen, it can happen quick, and you have to be able to act quick on the properties, right? Because there'll be others that will take it ahead of you. So if you have to be ready and keep your capital together, keep your investors together, keep your underwriting sharp, and keep up to date on the markets.
Now, more great advice, folks, from someone who's in market just smashing right now. Mike, what's the best way for folks to reach out to you?
My website is Grow Cap Today, and I have a lot of information on there as well too. There's some downloadable ebooks, and connect with me on my with my investor club, and we send out newsletters, information about the market and what's going on, and you also have an ability to schedule a call with me direct from the site as well.
Well, I really appreciate the time, the candor, and the sharing of your expertise and insights. You really gave the audience some great points to consider as they continue or embark on this journey. Mike, thank you so much.
Thank you, James. Pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Pleasure was mine. Best of luck as always, everybody. Please stay safe.